Good morning, children. Let's continue with the lesson en route to America. Okay, so in the previous session, we had seen how the writer and its sister had boarded the ship en route to America, and in the beginning they found that they had become very sick because they had to get used to the motion of the ship, okay, the movement of the ship. But later on, they got used to it. They also started enjoying, okay, the food in the ship, okay, and we also saw how they came across. There were people from different countries. They had come across. There was army officer from New Zealand, then also an Englishman, okay, then they also came across a Chinese student, okay. So they had come across people from various nationalities, okay. So let us continue with the lesson, okay. Now, once a day, the ship's megaphone boomed, "All hands abandon ship." At the signal, all passengers were required to drop whatever they were doing and rush to the deck to which they had been assigned at the start of the voyage. It was a disciplinary exercise to prepare us for the eventuality of an enemy submarine attack. Okay, so while they were on the ship, there was this signal was given. Okay, on the megaphone. Okay, ship's megaphone. All hands abandon ship. Okay, so as soon as the passengers heard this signal, whatever they were doing, they just had to stop doing that, and they had to rush back to the deck, which was assigned to them at the beginning of the voyage. Now, this signal was actually a disciplinary exercise. Okay, that is, it was given to prepare the passengers for in case there was an enemy submarine attack. I could never bring myself to obey the signal at once. I would head straight for my cabin and braid my long, thick hair, brush and comb it free of tangles, rebraid it, give it a final pat, and then find my way to the deck. Okay. However, the writer found it very difficult to obey the signal. Okay, because the moment she heard it, okay, she would head straight to the cabin. Okay, then what she will do is she will unbraid her long hair. Okay, the hair was long, thick. Okay, she will brush it and she will free it, comb it, free it of tangles, okay, and rebraid it, and then she will find her way back to the deck. "Are you mad?" Lekha whispered each time I arrived late on the deck. Okay, who cares what you look like if you're attacked and have to jump into the ocean? Okay, of course, when Lekha found the writer doing this, she shouted at her. Okay, and she told her, "See, if at all, who was going to actually see you or see her? Who's going to care whatever you look like? Because in case there was an attack, they were attacked by enemy, okay, who's going to see her? After all, they have to jump into the ocean." I refuse to abandon ship looking like a ragamuffin, I declared with dignity. Besides, I have to keep up my morale. Okay, so the writer refused. Of course, she did not want to look like a rag. Okay, and she said, because after all, she had to keep up her morale. Okay, the first inkling we had of our route was when chilly winds began to blow and we started to shiver. Okay, so of course, it was the month of May. Okay, and of course, you never expect the winds to be chilly during this month. Okay, so the first inkling, okay, that we had of a route was when the chilly winds began to blow and we started to shiver, having brought no warm clothes with us. Okay, they began to shiver. Okay, because the winds had suddenly begun to become very cold, and they had not brought any warm clothes with them. Most of the time, we wore cotton slacks and blouses. Saris were flimsy protection against the powerful ocean breeze. Okay, so most of the time they were wearing cotton slacks and also blouses, and because saris were very very thin. Okay, and it was no protection. It could not offer any sort of protection against a powerful ocean breeze. Who would have thought that the end of May would be a chilly time of the year? Of course, we never expect May because in India, of course, May is a hot as a summer. Okay, it's a summer month, and we never expect May to be, cold. But it was on the other side of the world, and with our teeth chattering, we realized in dismay that we are approaching Australia. Okay, but of course, they were on the other side of the world. Okay, on the southern side, and they found their teeth chattering, and they found that they were approaching Australia. On a cold, windy day, our ship sailed into Melbourne Harbour. Okay, so on a windy day, the ship sailed into Melbourne. We stood on the deck, clad in our thin cloth coats, trying to gaze out through the dense fog. Okay, so they stood at the deck of the ship, and they had only thin cloth coats. Okay, and they were trying to gaze through the dense fog. All we could see was a few twinkling lights piercing the curtain of mist here and there. But I was delighted at even this small glimpse of land. Of course, traveling for days, just seeing the wide open sea, it was a small delight for them to even have a glimpse of land. Did you ever think we would get to Melbourne? I marveled. No, said Lekha flatly. And what's more, I don't think we ever will. Okay, so, what do you mean? I demanded indignantly. Okay, so the writer was very, very angry when her sister Lekha told her that she never thought that she never thinks that they ever will, okay, get to Melbourne. My dear child, she explained patiently, don't you ever hear what goes on around you? Civilians are not allowed to go ashore. Okay, so civilians, okay, so a person who's not a member of the army, okay, they are not allowed to, they don't have the permission to go ashore. It was disappointing. We had to content ourselves with what we could see from the ship. Okay, so they had to, be contented, for they could not go ashore. They had to be contented with whatever they could see from the ship. A military friend brought us each a metal kangaroo and a wooden boomerang as souvenirs, and that was all we saw of Australia. Okay, so a military friend, okay, and they brought them a metal kangaroo. Okay, so and also a wooden boomerang. Okay, this boomerang is actually used for hunting by the Aborigines of Australia, and these two things, okay, were brought by the military friend for them as souvenirs. Standing in the corner of the deck, looking out at the lights that evening, I felt very lonely and wished with all my heart that the harbor was the familiar one of Bombay. Okay, so she only wished she was standing in the corner of the deck, and the writer felt for some time she felt very, very lonely and wished that the harbor, the Melbourne harbor, um, was that of Bombay. She only wished that it could be of Bombay. It was so dark that I did not see someone come up beside me. I turned with a start when a friendly voice said, "Hello." I could almost hear the grin in it as it went on to ask, "Did I scare you?" Okay, so she was so, immersed in her thoughts, and it had become very, very dark. and she did not hear someone coming and standing next to her. And, you know, um, okay, I could almost hear the grin in it as it went on to ask, did I scare you? Okay, so um, she was so immersed, as I said, watching or looking out. She found this person standing next to her. Okay, and it did scare her. You did, I replied. I was wishing I could go ashore. I was ashamed to admit my homesickness to a total stranger. Okay, so she replied in the affirmative, saying that he did scare her. And she felt ashamed. Okay, because she was talking to a complete stranger, and she admitted that she was feeling very, very homesick and wished that she could go ashore. Too bad you couldn't. You must be pretty tired of this boat. Been on it long. Okay, so this man, okay, told her, okay, asked her whether it had been a long time since she had been on the ship. And he also told her that it might be actually very, very tiring to be on this ship. I came on board at Bombay. Really? His voice registered interest. Had you been in India long? All my life. Okay. So his voice, he was very, very interested when he heard that she was coming from Bombay, and asked her whether she had been in India long. Okay. Now, or we'll have some questions here. Okay, we'll do a comprehension passage. We'll start with once a day to morale. Okay, so we have it here. Once a day to morale. Okay, now your question: what were the passengers required to do when the ship's megaphone boomed? All hands abandon ship. Okay, so I suppose, children, you know the answer. Okay, so when the ship's megaphone boomed, all hands abandoned ship, what were they supposed to do? So at this signal, all passengers were required to drop whatever they were doing and rush to the deck to which they had been assigned at the start of the voyage. Okay, so what were they required to do? The passengers were required to drop whatever they were doing and rush to the deck to which they had been assigned at the start of the voyage. Why was the signal given? So, you know the answer, children. Why was the signal given? Okay. Now, it was a disciplinary exercise to prepare us for the eventuality of an enemy submarine attack. Okay. So, why was the signal given? So, the signal, it was a disciplinary exercise to prepare the passengers for the eventuality of an enemy submarine attack. What would the writer do when she heard the signal? Okay, all of you know it. Okay, so here's the answer. I could never bring myself to obey the signal at once. I would head straight for my cabin, unbraid my long, thick hair, brush and comb it free of tangles, rebraid it, give it a final pat, and then find my way to the deck. So, this is what the writer did. The writer would head straight for a cabin, unbraid her long, thick hair, brush and comb it free of tangles, rebraid it, give it a final pat, and then find a way back to the deck. Okay, so quite unusual, is it not? So this is what the writer did. I could never bring myself to obey the signal at once. Write the part of speech of the underlined word. So what's the underlined word? It is myself. So what's myself? What part of speech is it? It is a reflexive pronoun. Are you mad? Write the type of sentence. So can you see the question mark? Okay, so can you see the question mark here? So what type of sentence is it? It is an interrogator sentence. Okay, children. So I hope you understood this part here. We'll continue with this lesson in the next session. Till then, thank you.